Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Veterans Aide. In today's video, we will be discussing how to file a claim using VA Form 21-526EZ. That form is used for both initial claims and claims for increased evaluation. The primary focus of this video is completing the form and submitting it. Before we begin, I would like to note up here on the expiration date that it says November 30th of 2025. Typically, when you're filling out a VA form, you want to look in this area on the first page of the form that you would fill out to find out what the expiration of that form is. In this case, this form has not been replaced. So even though it says it's expired, this is the latest version that I have to walk through with. Okay, so the first thing you'll need to do is select the claim program or process that applies to you, whatever that may be. Section 1 covers the basic identification information of the veteran, such as first name, middle initial, last name, social security number, date of birth, phone number, mailing address, and email address. Block 4 asks if you have ever filed a claim before with the VA. If you answer yes to this question, you must also add your VA file number in Block 5. In most cases, your VA file number will be your social security number. However, that is not the same for everyone, especially older veterans. So, if you are unsure, be sure to call the VA to find out what your VA file number is. Block 8 only applies to BDD claims. And lastly, if you add an email in Block 11, be sure to check the box to agree to electronic correspondence from the VA regarding the claim. In my experience, the VA is inconsistent at best when sending a claim related email. However, when they actually do send it, you should get a confirmation of receipt and a notification once the decision has been made. They will not email you the decision itself, but they will let you know that there has been one. I will not spend a lot of time in Section 2. This section is just to indicate whether you have a temporary or permanent change of address that you would like to inform the VA of. If it is a permanent change, you tell them the new address and the date you moved there. If it is a temporary change, you give them the new address, a start date or where you will start living there, and an end date where you will no longer be living there. Section 3 applies if you are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. If so, check yes and follow along with the form. One thing I will note, the form states that you should only complete blocks 14A through 14F if you are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. And if not, you should skip to section 4. The thing is, block 14A is a yes or no question. So it says to skip it, so I usually leave it blank if the answer is no. Section 4 asks if you are claiming any conditions related to toxic exposures. If you are not, go ahead and skip right on down to Section 5. If you are, however, you will need to complete the sections related to Gulf War hazard locations, herbicide locations, and any exposures you may have been subjected to, along with the dates of exposure. Section 5 is where the rubber meets the road, the claim information. In other words, the reason why you are filing a claim. When completing this section, you want to let the VA know what it is you're claiming and why. If you do not have a diagnosis, I would avoid putting a diagnosis in the current disability section. As an example, if you have not been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, then I would avoid putting IBS and instead use something more generic like chronic diarrhea, if that's the case for you. Likewise, if you do have a diagnosis, such as obstructive sleep apnea, I would recommend you go ahead and put that on the form. In the if due to exposure, event, or injury section, I like to make it clear to the rater what I am looking to get. While direct service connection is not an exposure, event, or injury, it points out that I'm just looking to get direct service connection, and that's the basis that I'm going with. If there is something that is secondary to an already service connected condition, I repeat, to an already service connected condition, I also put that in there. If there is some sort of exposure, then I list that too. In the approximate date section, you want to put as much detail as possible without pinning yourself down in case you misremember or something like that. In this case, only the years are being used. But as you can see on the previous page where the VA gives examples, you can put a specific date, you can use a month and year, whatever you choose. And I would also like to note, if you're looking for an increase, I usually put that in there too, in the same column with the exposures. And again, that is not what the column is for technically, but it does help them understand what you are asking at first glance. After you have all your conditions written down on this page, you want to scroll down and add in any VA medical centers or DoD military treatment facilities where you receive treatment after discharge for the claimed disabilities. If your treatment began in 2005 or later, you do not need to add in the dates next to the facility. If you need room for more facilities, attach an additional page and be sure to include your name, social security number, and which block number, 17 in this case, so they know what it goes to. And that wraps up Section 5. Section 6 is your military service information. Here, you will only complete each block as appropriate. It's pretty straightforward. The only people who might have a little trouble are those who were in the Guard or the reserves and they forgot their unit name or something like that. But for the most part, this is all information that you should have. Section 7 is for those eligible to receive retired pay, separation pay, and disability severance pay. So complete that as appropriate. Note that block 26 should only be checked if you want to decline VA compensation and only receive your retirement pay. If you continue on, the same can be said for block 28, except that one should only be checked if you want to decline VA compensation and only receive inactive duty training pay. Section 8 is pretty important. If approved for compensation, where do you want your payments to go? Be sure to take your time and enter all the information correctly. No fat fingers here. And if you have already set up a direct deposit, you can go ahead and leave this section blank. I, however, prefer to fill it in at each time, even if nothing's changed. Section 9 is for the veteran's signature. Sign in date, and then you're done. Well, at least you're done. The form is not yet complete. So, for section 10, which is for witnesses, those signatures are only required when the veteran signs with an X in lieu of their handwritten signature. Section 11 is for an alternate signature. This requires there to be no veteran signature in section 9 and a valid VA form 21 0972, which must either be of record or attached to and submitted with this 526EZ. Section 12 is for power of attorney signature. The power of attorney signature is only acceptable if a VA Form 21 22 or 21 22 Alpha is already of record with the VA at the time of the submission of the 526EZ. You cannot attach that form with the 526EZ as you could do with the alternate signature. Okay, now to close this one out, I would like to discuss the 5 different ways you can submit a 526EZ. First up, there's the va.gov's online tool using the link on screen. This is also where you would go to find the form itself. Next up, good old snail mail. Complete the form and drop it in the mail to the address shown. You can do a direct upload, also known as quick submit, using the link shown. The form can be dropped off in person to a VA regional office. You can fax it if you're into that kind of thing. There's a fax number for faxes inside the US and a different one for outside the US, so be sure to use the correct one. Lastly, you can just let your representative do it. So, if you're working with a VSO, an accredited claims agent, or an accredited attorney, they can take care of it for you. That is it. Those are the ways. Good luck with your claim. Thank you for taking time out of your day and making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, drop a comment with questions, or just to say hi. Share it with someone who may need to see it, and subscribe for future videos. Thanks again, and until next time, this has been the Veterans Aide.